Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to this exciting webinar. At this time, I have very handsome, very lovely person from Melbourne. I know he's not originally from Melbourne, but yeah, he is currently residing in Melbourne, Australia. And he has done PgMP and he is coming with lots of experience. I will talk about that. Thank you, Precious, for giving your valuable time and to share your knowledge with a lot of people around. And hopefully this knowledge, people watching via recording as well, they are watching, and they are also learning from you. Yeah, I'm very excited to invite you and invite all the attendees. I know some people may be midnight, early morning, it can be anything. For you, it's a morning time. Is it morning?
It is, Dharam. It's 11:30 a.m. In Melbourne, yeah, Australia, and I'd like to thank you for having me onto this webinar today. I've followed some of your podcasts and webinars in the past, and it's taken a keen interest in those. I'm really honored to be part of this webinar today. I'm optimistic that by sharing some of my experiences, someone will take something away today, yeah, which they can apply in their own work.
And more than 300 webinar recordings and more than 100 podcast recordings are available on YouTube. So there are 2 YouTube channels. If you have not watched, if you are keen to keep learning, so go to my YouTube channel, keep learning, guys. And there are, if you are looking for PDUs, some of the webinar which were done over last 1 year, you will be able to earn 1 PDU. Okay, so if you are, I know PDU is something important, because you want to renew your PMP or RNP or PgMP or any certificate. So I'd like to welcome Precious, and he is PMP, he's MBA, and he decided last year to go through the PgMP journey, and he will talk about that a little bit. And he's coming with lots of experience, and he's currently working for Airservices Australia and Director at Ziroo Pty Ltd.
But it's actually Ziroo, and it's composed of 2 parts. One part is from Zimbabwe, the Z, and the Roo is a big kangaroo from Australia. So if you have Ziroo, it becomes a big kangaroo, right? That's the organization that I'm a director for.
Okay, and good news then, Precious did pass the exam with above target on 21st of July 2023, last year. Yeah, seems like yesterday. And along with Precious, I got now proud to say 493 PgMPs, and 7 more I needed to call my 500. I don't know why I'm excited, but it's always excited to reach a milestone. And last PgMP I want to tell, and I'm happy to say, she got her certificate just on Monday, and I was the one who was driving her to the center and picking her back, and she's my wife. So she passed the exam with above target, and she completed the exam in 2.5 hours. And with PfMP 134 PfMP out of I think 1600 something. So it's I think 9 to 10% of global PgMP PfMPs are coming from my contribution. I'm privileged, I'm honored, and I feel I'm blessed that I'm able to contribute to so many people's life and get the certification done, including my wife. So what else I want? So anyway, so once again, thank you. And anything else you like to talk about yourself, Precious?
Not really, Dharam. You've covered it all. You've gone into that first exam attempt I did for PgMP. It is possible that you can fail on a first attempt, but those are valuable lessons. You should listen to Dharam when he says go to bed on time. I did go to bed at 2 a.m. and set the exam at 8 a.m. I think I was writing about the cricket rather than the program management principles. But yeah, Dharam is a good mentor in terms of getting you across the PgMP. It's quite a challenging certification. I found it valuable, particularly interacting with many other PgMP attendees from across the globe. The US, Saudi Arabia, and some in New Zealand. So I think it's a good way that you moderate these PgMP mentorship sessions, Dharam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah. Would you like to give some tips? I know this session is not about PgMP, but some people may get inspired from you, and why you decided to get into PgMP. What was the reason? I know you are in Melbourne. Melbourne, I don't know, companies that start asking for PgMP or not. I think there are in some companies, but what was your reason to decide?
No, that's a very good question, Dharam. I was a program manager using my MBA for the strategy and other leadership directions that I needed. I also have a PMP, but I wanted to step up to the next level. There is a clear difference between being a project manager and a program manager. So the PgMP does cover a lot of the benefits management. Why are we doing things for air services, stakeholder engagement? It's all about stakeholders and how do you keep them engaged, the program lifecycle, how do you get similar projects or initiatives or components working together. So I found out that PMI have got this PgMP certification, and when I had an overview of it, and also being connected on LinkedIn, I remember that I contacted Dharam a few years back, but did not complete that journey. So Dharam was coming over to Melbourne to have a boot camp, which was it's a sort of a weekend boot camp, and I thought boot camp is too quick for me. I might forget everything. So I decided to join the longer version of it, but I found it valuable. I'm using most of the principles that we've learned in that PgMP journey in my current role right now, and I can see the value that it brings in there. So I would recommend it to anyone who runs programs or even projects, because that stakeholder engagement there is becoming critical these days with all the time zone differences that we have in the financial situation that you're under and the pressure that you have in there. So that was a key driver that I wanted to improve the way I was running my programs at Airservices. Airservices, for those that are on the call that may not know, is a regulated body that runs all the airports in Australia. So it is critical that you follow certain regulations for you to be successful. It is critical that you engage certain stakeholders. It is critical that you keep your eye on the benefits management. All that is covered in the PgMP. As Dharam says, that's a discussion for another day.
Great. Thank you. So I will be running number of PgMP PfMP boot camps in Australia. I think one in Sydney, one in virtual, one in Melbourne, PgMP, and then maybe Brisbane and PfMP. So if you are interested in PgMP PfMP, reach out to me at, by the time we finish, I will share the links with you if you don't have. And if you are interested, I can offer you $100 discount if you are joining. And you just have to tell Dharam, I attended this webinar with Precious. Even if you're listening to the recording, that's fine. And this month and the next month, I have a number of webinars. So not webinar, but boot camps. All right. Topic today is harnessing the power of cross-functional teams. Very important topic, especially when you're working in a cross-functional team. And there are a lot of synergies, as well as there can be conflicts and many other things. So how are you going to get together, working together with various people from different teams? That's where stakeholder engagement and other things will be, hopefully Precious will talk about. So my first question is to weather a crisis, how to build a network of teams. How do you do this? And how do you accomplish the seemingly impossible? I know a lengthy question, but you got it.
Thank you, Dharam. I'll break the question into three parts. The first question actually answers questions 2 and 3. But in a nutshell, the only way to weather a crisis is to build a strong team and work together to overcome the challenges you're presented with. My greatest accomplishments have been when I'm working in a team setting. Now, if I go back to the Airservices example, you do have various stakeholders that are in there who each contributes to a common outcome, but I'll get into details later on in this webinar. It is also of utmost importance for you to have very clear standards as to how you're going to deliver a program of works. The environment that we work in is an example. Airservices is technically very complicated, very regulated, and demands a lot of time and a lot of people to navigate for us to have a common outcome. Now, as a program manager, my single biggest priority is ensuring I maintain a team-first approach throughout the project lifecycle, because this is something that I cannot achieve alone without the cross-functional teams. We do use a lot of matrix resources, which belong to different line managers and have different priorities. While your program might be #1 priority for you, it may not necessarily be #1 for everybody else. Now, you have to have the ability to bring high-performing individuals together, because if you're looking at a technical person, they may be very good at the technical ability, but may not necessarily be meeting the outcomes that we require for that program.
Yeah.
Now, we also have a lot of systems that we work with, and there are a lot of good systems out there. However, you need to make sure that you are using them to the utmost use. These systems don't work on their own, and you need to have clarity across these multiple functional teams that you have to ensure that you're getting the benefit from those systems and the people. Just to give an example, we had a regulated program that we needed to deliver last year. We were going to lose a connection with our defense counterparts, which would have been a very critical situation. I know you will have some suspense as to how we delivered it on time. We did deliver it on time. The success of that program was due to the team coming together. And I kind of think it was due to a few things that I call the big four. One of those is transparency in the ways we work. We need to be transparent in how we are driving the outcome. The second thing is open communication, collaboration, celebrate our successes when we have them. Also take all the difficult questions when they do arise. They will arise as you go. The other thing is the ability to escalate early. I think there's no point waiting around. When you have a problem, you need to escalate to the right people. And then finally, we need to stay focused on the solution and the outcome that we're after. With these things, I think you'll be able to achieve these difficult projects that we work in. I hope I've answered your questions, Dharam.
Yeah, great, good. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, this is a very important area, how you, first of all, select your team from various function areas and then build a team and work together to accomplish something. Initially when you start, oh my God, how it's going to happen? But you need to, the stakeholder engagement is one of the most important area, and also most time it's ignored. So you need to pay attention. So you know who these people are. These are your team members now, and they are expert in their area. They need some respect as well. While you're program manager, project manager, you need to pay them required respect, as well as you need to make sure that the team is functioning as a team. Everybody is working as a team. So you can always go back to PMBOK and other things like technical ladder, and how you get to formulation. You remember that forming, norming, storming, forming, storming, norming, performing and adjourning. So you need to bring the team together, and and that's what you need to have, create a clarity and vision, motivate the team, excite the team, so everybody's pumped together and getting the things done. Let me ask my next question. 75% of cross-function teams are dysfunctional. As an experienced program project manager, do you agree with this statement? Please share your experience and the reality behind it.
Thanks, Dharam. I would argue that you have a very conservative number there. My thinking and reasoning is it's much higher than 75%, and that's for very good reasons too. Teams, when you start up a program or a project, resources are brought together from various corners of the organization. Some may be even external to that organization. So in reality, you are getting people that have never worked together, that are not familiar with each other. Yeah. And likely to feature people with different reporting lines, as we spoke on earlier. And of course, that's what cross-functional teams are for. They are bringing the specific skills, be it marketing, project management, or technical abilities that they bring in there. But still, the point remains that they are coming from different resource angles. They also have different organizational priorities. As a program manager, budget, time, cost, the triple constraints, we can talk about them, are important. However, a technical engineer on my program may necessarily be interested in making sure that the technical solution is working as good as it takes. And people come in with unique perspectives and different objectives on what is optimal way of working. Some people like to work on Teams, and some people like taking telephone calls. Some people like face-to-face meetings. Now, you know, with a hybrid working environment that we have, which you need to consider as well, whether the person you're working with likes to be in the office or virtual. And finally, people do come to work with different pressures. Some may be coming from home pressures, some may be watching cricket at 12 a.m., and some are coming from different time zones. In that respect, I would argue that most teams start out as dysfunctional.
Yeah.
The question, though, is you as a program manager, how are you going to turn that dysfunction into a high function? There's always a period of transition. We spoke recently about team building and how it finally ends up. I call it team gelling at the end of the day. I believe that teams will eventually become functional once you've set up the clear objectives on how you're going to tackle the big problems that we have. Now, because the environment we're working on is very challenging, it is important that you ensure that people are comfortable and can express themselves when they have their challenges or their issues. And you also recognize good work as it comes. I think if you pull that together, people will be willing to work with you. You should also be very clear on what direction you want the program to take. In hindsight, when I look at some of the projects that I've done across the world, I've been on 5 continents and 26 countries running projects on mostly mobile cellular networks.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would not have really appreciated the different personalities that come into an organization. And now, with a bit of maturity, I think it's important that you make sure that people are happy to work with you. In that case, I'm a very strong believer in diversity of thought. And of course, there are caveats to just diversity. But in general, I think we need to look at making sure the team is comfortable, and then also looking into how do we manage our stakeholders, which we spoke about earlier on, and also earlier engagement so that people don't have surprises down the line.
Fantastic, fantastic. And while you're talking about this, answering this question, I'm also thinking, there was a Bollywood movie. I know it's Bollywood, it's Indian, yeah. But there's, the movie about this coach. He's a hockey coach. I don't know how many people know what hockey is not a game with a stick. And these girls are coming from different states and different personalities, and from there, from this functional team, how he managed to get them to win the championship in the world level championship. That's a fantastic way of bringing team together. Yes, there were some issues, there were some conflicts happening, some personality clashes. You have to recognize that, of course. And most important thing is if you can do SWOT analysis about each of them. Look, some people have strengths, some people have weaknesses. Strengths, weaknesses, and all these things are there. Let's not worry about opposite that. Strengths and weaknesses. So, not everybody can do the same thing. Even at my home, when I say, okay, I can do driving good, and I can drive very well, but you can do tax return. So why don't you take tax return part? So because she can see the numbers very well, and I can see different things. Yeah. I can do this. So if you can channel the energy instead of saying, I'm doing a tax return, why can't you do tax return? No, there are some expertise you have, I have. So that's where I'm talking about. Your team has, individual people have some expertise, some knowledge, some way of doing things. Try to utilize those strengths and covered by the weaknesses by somebody else. That way, you can have a very functional team. I hope this makes sense. Okay, let's see. We have a question here. How does Precious manage his line manager's expectation of the program project team performance? that is managing everyone's expectation in a cross-functional team.
I did speak earlier on about stakeholder engagement. For you to engage the stakeholders, you need to identify them first. And of course, I can see my line manager right in front of me, is first stakeholder in there. And then from there, once the stakeholders are identified, obviously, I end up with mapping them. So in stakeholder mapping, I can see clearly how my line manager would want to be communicated. Does he want information via emails, or does he want quick catch-ups? However, overall, what I do with my line manager is I do have a formal one-on-one where we document the progress, challenges, and achievements that we're going to face. I particularly like talking to him about the successes. I think we don't, as program managers, in most cases, what I've learned is most people don't acknowledge the successes that their team is having along the journey. It's a program life cycle. So I tend to acknowledge, I place a lot of emphasis on acknowledging my team when they've done something right. We do have one-on-ones with the key people that are in that team. However, I am key to raise issues as they arise, engage early, either upwards or downwards or horizontally. The importance of early engagement is that you don't let things become bigger than they are. Sometimes, because you don't have sufficient information, you may believe that you have a bigger problem, yet it's just a lack of communication. I also operate an open door policy for my team members and allow them to contact me anytime when they want to contact me so that I can provide solutions. I do assure them that I don't know and I don't have all the answers, but where I don't have the answers, I will find them together with them. Now, in terms of making sure that we communicate these things, I think the infrastructure for a program is identified by PMI is very key. You've got your PMO supporting you there for the formal gating process and other things, but one part which I will raise right now, which is normally not acknowledged, is the communication department. I leverage on my communication team to ensure that these successes that I spoke about are, one, communicated and are very clear. And then secondly, where we need to escalate, where we have a challenge, we also highlight it via those communication packages that we send out. So I hope I've answered the question, but happy to come back to it again.
Yeah, thank you. So what are the best ways to break down silos and boost cross-functional collaboration for result in program and projects?
Thank you, Dharam. For me, transparency and strong organizational skills are the keys here. As I alluded to earlier on, there are countless software programs that we can use to manage a program to capture real-time data, reporting, and the like. But you need to, because there are so many of them, it's like a buffet. When you look at a buffet, you feel like you can eat everything out there, but the reality is you can't. So you need to know and adopt at least one system that you then can effectively manage and use that with your people. That does make a lot of difference. I've also found out that you need a disciplined and detail-focused person at the helm, in which case, in this case, this is me. I take accountability for that program. The success of that program and failure rests on my shoulders. So regardless of the automations that you can get from these software programs that I spoke about, you need to make sure that they're working for you. Program management office I spoke about in the last question, and the communication bit is very important in the sense that the communication team is across a lot of departments in the organization, and they're able to assist you with vital support that you need. So, for instance, if you are keen on engaging the finance team, the communication team would normally be across as they deal with most of these departments, and you can utilize them to assist you with that. Now, I'm conscious that I might spark a generational war here, but the good old telephone is a good thing to have. Pick up that phone, make that call. I know a lot of people depend on emails, but it is very important that you talk to people on a regular basis the key contributors, at least give them a call, understand where they are sitting, understand if there are any underlying issues that they need to rectify. I found that picking up my phone is a very effective way. I know that most people want to write it via email so that they have a record, but I think the record stands for itself. At the end of the day, has the program delivered the benefits that we intended to? If we identified and passed on the benefits to the organization in terms of tracking them along the way, I think that's what's important. Now, you do have things that obviously don't work as simple as I'm putting them. But I think the best teams are those that are aligned in the way we approach conversation, which is the telephone call that I spoke about, the regular communications that we have, the expected communication techniques and guidelines. In Airservices, we have 1 million, I don't kid you, 1 million acronyms. For instance, the word ATM means different things in Airservices. One of those meanings is air traffic management. The other is asynchronous transfer mode. So in communicating the messages, if I were to write a message full of these acronyms, it would mean different things to different people and create chaos in that communication. It's a good communication piece, but it means different things to people. So what I've done with my team is we've simplified it to what I call an elevator pitch. What is it that we are trying to communicate? Are we looking for assistance, and what is that assistance? So that anybody who looks at it can understand what the challenge is and they can jump in and assist us. I think you find the same thing, Dharam, that in setting up your podcast and webinars, you need to be very clear on what are these questions that you're going to ask. Otherwise, I would be answering different questions to what you're asking. So it is important to simplify and uplift the level of our communication so that the intended audience understands what we're trying to communicate.
Yeah, perfect. You know, the good point. So one important thing when we talk about silos, you know, we have so many different teams and they don't talk, you know. Hey, they may be sitting next to each other, they don't talk because they follow the process. And I give you one example. When I was working with HP, and I was in Sydney, but my team was in Philippines, Manila, and the guys I know, they're sitting next to each other, but they just wait for the process to follow their 24-hour of lead time, this time. Hang on, you're next to the person. Can you not just call or talk to the person and get it done? And also, it's not about, but bringing them together, have them team building activities, and get them out of the working environment and let them be free, and then find their ways as a boundary. You're breaking the silos basically, and they can become friends, and then easier for them to communicate as well. And the question is, what is the hardest conflict managed that may or may not have been resolved, and what was the learning lesson from that in your experience?
Thank you very much for raising that. And in fact, that has happened in the last 3 months of this year. That defense program that I spoke about, there are compliance and regulation requirements that we need to meet. We're not meeting those regulations. In fact, we're introducing a system that was introducing delay, which is longer than what the legacy system was. You would assume that every time you introduce an internet protocol solution, you get better connections. Now, in dealing with this, we had different departments involved, and one of them was defense. Defense are very clear; they use a straight line. Then we've got the regulators. There's a defense regulator and a civilian regulator. All of them came down, and they basically said this solution will not be deployed because it doesn't meet the specifications. On one hand, defense were saying we are happy with the delay that it's introducing because we do have failures within our network, and at one point it felt like they're going to use their defense muscles to push this through. So on one hand, I have to deal with the defense as a stakeholder to buy time, and on the other hand, I need to deal with the civilian regulator and my own internal safety principles that were required. On the third hand, we're dealing with the carriage supplier who wants to disconnect copper and move on to IP. They had a deadline. So all the stakeholders were really up against it. And it was my role to bring them all together. Now, what I did at the back end of last year was to bring in the civilian regulator, defense, and our own internal regulatory bodies into a very difficult meeting, which was very tense because we had to meet this timeline. However, at the end of the day, in having discussions with all the stakeholders, we came to a realization that it was better for us to have a service which has a delay rather than to have no service at all. Mind you, this product is interfacing between defense, which is the military planes, versus the civilian planes. You don't want to have loss of surveillance there. So while the difficult conversations we had, the outcome of it was that we managed to come to an understanding that we will deploy the solution as an interim and we'll work together with defense and come up with a better solution. So there were hard, difficult conversations that we had. However, we did manage to get a solution from having the conversation together, sitting in that room, having that meeting and understanding where each person is coming from.
All right, thank you for answering the question. Let me take you to the next question. What skill do you need as a program manager to lead cross-functional team?
Thanks, Dharam. Hopefully I've answered some of these in my previous conversations. But I believe that as a program manager, you need to have a solution mindset, unwavering commitment to the delivery outcomes. The outcomes are key because without meeting those outcomes, we don't have programs.
Yeah.
I'm also aware that the next point that I'm raising can be contradictory, but patience is a virtue. Leading cross-functional teams requires patience because, again, people are coming from different backgrounds, different understandings, different time zones, and all sorts of things. Work processes and systems take time to bed into an organization while we do have constraints for programs. So we need to meet the program constraint at the same time while gelling the team together. So you need that perseverance and you need to maintain that systematic approach in adopting change. Change is a constant in programs and therefore you will meet a lot of change as you go along the program life cycle. And I'm aware that individuals from a cross-functional team do adopt change in different ways and at different paces. But if you remain resolute in your approach and you're committed to delivery, as discussed earlier on, I think everyone will go away with you and will come along the journey with you. However, one of the most important skills that I possess as a project manager is putting in a game of golf. In programs, you'll be tested. There will be challenges that will come in. So does golf. You'll be tested. You will lose your patience, you will discover new languages as you sweat yourself. So as a hobby, I think everyone should have a hobby, be it golf in my instance or cooking or reading. That sets you in a best possible position for you to switch off from work and look after your own mental health. These programs can be brutal. I call it switch off so you can switch on. And I always encourage my teams to switch off so that they can switch on. I think with this, they'll be able to come back to work and focus on the things at hand in a more focused way. Of course, it's not always easy to play golf when you've got hard deadlines. However, this, I believe, should be prioritized by an individual because mental health is a key thing. Also, in doing this, I've seen that the positive effects of when I have a good golf game, I normally have a good Monday. So that sets me for a good outcome for my program of works. But I would imagine you would not have quite expected this to be the answer to your question, Dharam, but golf it is. Play golf and your programs will be successful.
I mean, of course, as a program manager, a lot of the soft skills are required and you are working with so many different personalities and you need to find a way around so that you can work with them, you can bring them together as a team. And you know, it's a very, very important role, and how you bring them together and how you navigate them to one direction and get the results. So whether you have to do partying out or maybe, you know, Friday afternoon drinks, or maybe a team going out for a bowling club or something. So bring them together, in an informal environment where people start mingle and start talking, and they find their friendship and relationship, and you will do good. So yeah, soft skills are very, very important. Emotional intelligence, which we always talk about, and as a program manager, yes, that's very important, because you're working with so many different people, different type of people. Emotional intelligence is the way to go. Yeah, so many ways we can bring, and of course stakeholder engagement and how to identify and all kind of things. So great, thank you. Do you have any tips in managing your stakeholders, especially executive leadership, when it becomes clear a program deadline won't be met?
Senior stakeholders do not like surprises. To my earlier point, or earlier on, you need to engage them early so that they understand. In most cases, we do wait until it's an issue, but I would argue that even when it is a risk, I think you should be bringing them along the journey. If they're along the journey, it makes it easier for you when it becomes a key issue. However, in saying that, you also need to emphasize that you should be transparent, not communicate falsehoods. If things are not well, you should be able to highlight that you do have those challenges. It is also important to have very clear and accurate data when you communicate to senior management. I think the challenge that I found is that most of the execs do have numbers edged on their heads. So if you say you after 20 million and then you come back tomorrow and you're talking about 21 million, you are losing them. Keep them along the journey so that they can assist you. They are there to assist you. But if you're not accurate and you don't give them accurate data and you don't engage early, you will, in layman's terms, end up with surprises, and execs don't like surprises.
Yeah, fantastic. And if we do have any problem, yes, do discuss with them, and they are the best friends. Exactly. But when you go to them, make sure you take some options with you, because again, they don't have all the solutions, but they can also analyze your options from their point of view. So when you talk to them, this is the problem. Yeah, this is the problem. And there are possible 3 options, pros and cons, and let them decide. So one way.
It's a good point that you raise.
Yeah. So one way you're giving them opportunity to make a decision, but at the same time, you're not putting under pressure. Hey, give me an answer. I mean, you provide the answers and solutions, but they tell you which one is the best. And of course, you want them to put a recommendation. I think the option number 2 is best because of this, but let them add their value into this. Yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I wanted to say that's a very good point. Going there with options, not just we mostly articulate the problem very well, but sometimes we don't provide those options. Execs do require those options.
Exactly. When they can see from, or they can analyze the solution from their point of view. But yes, you take them. Okay, this is my option 1, 2, 3, and option analysis or alternative analysis, whatever you want to call, and let them make the decision. All right. So I have a question. So some different question. Maybe it's only for me. How shall I use PDUs whenever required? So PDUs are required when you have a PMP or like PMI certificates, professional development units. As you're getting 1 PDU from this program, you go to the PMI register, PMI certification page, and PDU in your dashboard, you will able to claim by putting this course identifier claim code. You don't have to do anything, just put the claim code, you get all the information there. Okay. The next question I have, how to crack PfMP? I think it's a big question. I mean, while Precious has already talked about his PgMP journey, similar to PgMP PfMP as well, and of course application process, and then go through this journey. If you are seeking my guidance, happy to talk to you. Please book my time and we can talk separately about this. I don't want to take everybody's time on this. When would the market challenges recover for me to get into my next potential role? It's a big question and nobody knows, and I wish I have an answer for you. But I think one of the important thing is be ready for the change. You know, if you are out of market, out of job for some time, yeah, you need to relook your situation. I don't think market is that bad, but maybe in particular area it may be. But relook your situation, relook your certification, relook your knowledge and background. Maybe this is a time for you to upgrade your knowledge. Look at project management, program management, portfolio manager skills or certificates, or now artificial intelligence and some other certification, AWS. Those can be useful for you. So upskill yourself. Be ready for, you know, whenever you go getting the interview calls or something. I know these were not related, but because I had a question, I want to make sure I'm addressing them. Anything else you like to cover, Precious? Want to talk?
No, thank you, Dharam, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you again, Matt.
No, thank you. Thank you for trusting me on the journey. It's very, very important for me that people like you have trust, and I was able to fulfill my promise to you, and you got your certificate. So it's a privilege, and having so many 493, hey, 7 more. I think I should have a big party if I have another 7, and of course I will get. I'm hoping by end of February or maybe mid of March I should have 500. So
stay focused and look at the outcomes. 500 is a number, Matt, and you'll be there.
It's not far away, actually. You know, I'm very hopeful. So anyway, so numbers are numbers. But anybody interested to talk to me, you can feel free to book your time with me. Happy to work with you and get you their certification. As I mentioned, I gave you number of programs on the screen or the chat. You can see number of programs, even the virtual program. If you're thinking, hey, I'm in Singapore, I cannot attend the PfMP program in Sydney, don't worry. If I see 1 or 2 people saying virtual, I will convert that program into virtual, and then I will save my time to go other place. Anyway, not to talk too much about it, but happy that I invited Precious, and happy that you all joined here, and I hope you got some value out of this. I know as a host, I learned a lot from so many people. And you guys joined once or twice, but I'm joining every month. Actually, just to remind you, there are 2 more sessions coming up. One with Roderick from Army officer, US Army, very dynamic. Actually, he's just 32-year-old. He is a PhD, he has a PMP, he's a PgMP, and many other certificates. He started the business and an Army officer, and retiring very soon. So you like to learn from him. His name is Roderick. So I think if I'm not, 23rd of February. It's not a long time from here. It will be early morning for me in Sydney when I'm in Sydney. And then there's another one coming from Sohan from Melbourne. That is 8th of March. So keep an eye on the announcements. If you already booked it, great. Otherwise, let me know. If you have not seen the registration link, I will send it to you. I think we are done with this. And once again, thank you, Precious. And thank you, all of you, for contributing to this discussion and being part of this journey. So thank you once again, and I hope you have a great day and enjoy yourself. Thank you, Precious.
It was a pleasure, Dharam. Thank you so much. Bye.
Same here. And all the best, guys. Enjoy yourself. Take care.